Hey guys, so today I'm going to teach you how to mix rap vocals in Logic Pro. I'm not using all stock plugins, so you may need a few of these plugins if you wish to follow it exactly, but obviously the parameters can be used pretty much the same in a lot of other plugins. So yeah, this is the track, and this is how it sounds with the mix on.
They get wicked and bad, try come with a flicky and a fisherman's hat. Like, why you do this, you not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man. Nah, you ain't in a no gang. Star dog smoking, your head's gone mad. Got no money in the bank, fuck that. Guess every little helps like a Tesco's ad.
That's how it sounds with a mix. Let's now listen to it without a mix. Okay, so as you can tell, there's like massive difference from the raw recording to how it then sounds with all the plugins. This is what I'm going to teach you how to do today. What we're going to do right now is take you through the EQing of the track. So I'm going to load up my mixer, turn all this off, and yeah, let's get started. So open up the stock plugin, the channel EQ from Logic, turn it on. And immediately what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut everything from 80 Hertz with a 48 dB. And then what I'm also going to do, I'm going to scan through the song with my post analyzer on so that I can hear. So now I can hear all these different frequencies and I can see them as well, which is really important. Obviously you want to train your ear so that you can hear the frequencies that sound bad, not just see them and rely on what you're seeing. But immediately we can see, like, look, right up here around 190, we've got some big boosts, and the same with about 160. Now, to sort of level this out, we're going to get a bandwidth of about 2.5, and we're going to pull it down by 4 dB. So this is how it would sound with it all the way up. So this is what you're training your ear to hear for. And then, yeah, you want to take it down to about 4 dB. I never usually reduce anything larger than 6 dB. So you're going to go through the whole of your EQing process. Is just basically doing this. You're going round and you're finding what exactly sounds bad, what sounds good, and you're going to get rid of it. So not rid of it completely, you're just going to cut it so it's not so overpowering. And then I do 2 layers of subtractive EQing. So this is the other one. Some vocals may only need 1 layer. This one needs 2. 9 times out of 10 I usually have 2. Some people might think this is quite harsh. You know, a lot of people tend to do a lot less of the subtractive to give it a more sort of natural sound. I, however, want to go for a bit more quality and precision on this. So what you could do instead is, let's turn this off and this off. Instead of having it at a bandwidth of about 2.5, I could just have it down, let's say 0.79, and get rid of a wider spectrum of the area, but not such a precise area. So there's several different ways of doing it. Find which one is best for you. This one just happens to be best for me. What I then do is I get my compression. So I'm using the FabFilter C2 compressor here. And then, yeah, so this is what it sounds like without it. And then this is how it's going to sound with it. Obviously there's a massive difference, and this is the main reason I use FabFilter Pro C2. Is because it brings your vocals right to the very front of the mix. And as you can see, my attack is at 5 milliseconds, my release is at 210. I've got a small look ahead on at 1 millisecond. My style is on vocal. There's many different styles for you to check through, but obviously I'm doing vocals, so naturally I'm going to click the vocal style. Now my threshold is at -30. Now obviously you need to sort of find somewhere between, I'd say, 20 and 35 as to where you want your threshold to be. You've got to use your ears to listen to what's over compressing and what's not compressing enough. You've really got to focus on your dynamic range here, okay? So how much do you want to cut of it? How much do you want it to sound natural? Also, if you've got everything mixed into one bus like I have, so all of Frankie's vocals, they've got his main line, stabs left, stabs right. So with the stabs, Obviously, if it's all on one bus, they're going to compress it even more so. So you don't want to have too much compression that when it does the stabs, they sound flat. You still want to have some dynamic range. So I found that at 30 is a good range to have it at. So that's how it sounds.
These man they get wicked and bad. Try come with a flicky and a fisherman's hat. Like why you do this, you're not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man.
Cool. So the next thing you're going to add is more of a additive EQ. So I'm going to open this here, another FabFilter. It's the Pro Q2. This is my favorite equalizer because when listening to the vocals, you can solo that frequency. So
These man they get wicked and bad. Try come with a flicky and a fisherman's hat. Like why you do this, you're not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man. Nah, you ain't in a no gang. Still smoking your head's good man. Yeah. Got no money in the bank, fuck that. Every little helps like a test goes.
So as you can see, whatever you create your bell on, you can then listen to what is exactly in that frequency range. So firstly, what I usually do is I go down to about the 300 mark and I remove any mud from the mix. So that's a little bit more subtractive, but because you can actually hear it soloed, that's what makes this a little bit better than the channel EQ for the stock one. Then I would add my warmth, so anywhere between say 400 to 700, usually your end, but I tend to stick more between the 500 and 600. Again, depends on the artist, how deep their vocals are, and the flow in which they're doing it with. So yeah. And as you can see, it's very subtle, okay? So we're not looking for tight Q widths here like we were with the subtractive on the stock EQ plugin. We're looking more for a wider EQ with, I never do more than, 2 dB really when I come into this phase of my EQing. Then your nasal quality is between say 1000 and 1400 hertz. That's just naturally where the nasal sound of your vocals is coming in. So I cut around there. Again, very small amount. We've already done a lot of subtractive EQing, so this is just sharpening that. Now, this is probably the most important bit, I would say, is add your air. Here we've boosted around 3000 hertz all the way to 20k, and I've done it by +2. So this is it without it.
These man they get wicked and bad. Try come with a flicky and a fisherman's hat. Like why you do this, you're not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man. Nah, you ain't in a no gang.
As you can see, when it comes to EQing and mixing in general, lots of little things create one big thing. You don't want to be doing massive bits of EQ here, massive bits of compression there, massive bits of saturation, because you're over mixing it. It's going to sound muddy, it's not going to sound tight. You've got to really look at making small, minute changes, and once you've done these small, minute changes lots of times over different plugins, it's then going to create one big picture. So don't be going massively overboard with your EQing, compression, etc. Just trust in the chain. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add my de-esser. Again, this is another FabFilter plugin. It's 10 out of 10, couldn't recommend it more. So this is without it.
These man they get wicked and bad. Try come with a flicky and a fisherman's hat. Like why you do this, you're not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man. Nah, you ain't in a no gang.
And now we're going to play it with it.
These man they get wicked and bad. Try come with a flicky and a fisherman's hat. Like why you do this, you're not bigger than that.
So I can actually solo the S sounds in this. So what I can also do is solo his vocal so you can hear that slightly more clearly. And then
these man they get wicked.
So this is a great tool that you have to be able to figure out how much you're compressing those S sounds. So I tend to have it around 16 kilohertz to 6,000, 16 to 6,000, threshold about 50, range 10.8. This changes massively. Like I don't usually have it this high, but for this vocal it needed it. Usually I have it around a -40 threshold with a range of about 8. Make sure you click your single vocal. That's the very basics of de-essing. In another video, I'm going to go into every function on this de-esser, but for now, just for this quick setup for how to mix your rap vocals, this is all I'm going to tell you. But yeah, keep an eye out for more videos like this, and I'll go much more into detail for you. Okay, so now we've got the majority of it done. The actual order that I usually do this in is that I go channel EQ for my subtractive, then I have my compressor, then I have my Q2, and then I have my de-esser. But in terms of that's how the order I do them in, but in order of the chain that comes down, I change it up once I've done that. So I've got my additive and a bit more of the subtractive there. I have my de-esser and then my compressor. Now, it's completely up to you how you would like to do this. You know, you don't have to follow this pattern that I've done. Some people might say it's different. Again, whatever works for you, basically. But yeah, some people might have the compressor in front of the de-esser. Like I said, doesn't matter. You choose what you think sounds best for you. There's no strict rule on this. After that, I add my reverb. So I go into my window here, open up the project, click on Frankie, unsolo, and then I've got him on bus 2. Now, what I've got here is the replica reverb. This is native instrument reverb, which I find to be really, really good for adding some sort of spacey vocals. It suits the tone of this beat really well. So I'd go, if I was to make a new one, I'd go bus, say it was bus 2, click on bus 2, and then I'd have it on post fader. This is really important. I'll explain why in another video. Here we have bus 2 replica. It's on post fader. Now when I open up replica, this is what comes up. So I have mine on the replica bright. It usually comes up with about 40 here and 75 here. I change it so it's an 80-20 and a 33, and this is how it sounds with it on.
Try come with a flicky in a fisherman's hat. Like, why you do this? You not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man. Nah, you ain't in a no gang. Stop dog smoking, your head's gone mad. Got no money in the bank, fuck that. Guess every little helps like a Tesco's ad. These man they get wicked and bad. Try come with a flicky in a fisherman's hat. Like, why you do this? You not bigger than that. Stop.
Okay, you can adjust these settings to however it suits you, but for the purpose of this very quick tutorial, this is how we would have it. Again, I'm going to be making tutorials on all these plugins I'm using and exactly why I'm using it and the parameters and each filter that you can do. But yeah, that's how I would have it. Then I'm going to go and make another bus. It's going to be called bus 3, and then again we're going to have it so that it's on post fader. And again with the reverb, you can adjust how much by clicking up to here. So I've got it on 16. I could have it all the way up to +6 and it would sound like this.
Come with a flicky in a fisherman's hat. Like, why you do this? You not bigger than that. Stop.
But that's way too much, clearly. So you've just got to find the right balance for your ears per track. Sometimes I have it at like -22, sometimes I have it at like -6. It's all very dependent. But yeah, the next thing you're going to do is open up another bus, and you're going to put delay on this bus. So I've already got one set up called delay wrap vox main. You have a compressor in here, and if you want to pause your screen, you can copy these exact settings. Stereo delay, again, if you want, pause your screen. These are the settings that we have. Again, so with any delay, we have it so that it's mainly the high end that's coming through, just so that it sits in the mix differently to the main vocal, and it's just giving it its own space, essentially. EQ is one of the best tools for creating space. And then finally, we have sample delay. I have just the tiniest amount on delay left. So again, you know, pause your screen. Feel free to copy these the way that this is all set out. Keep it on post fader, and then just adjust however you feel necessary, okay? The more that you increase it to, say, up here, the louder it's going to be. I like to keep mine for this track at 18, and this is how it sounds with it.
These man they get wicked and bad. Try come with a flicky in a fisherman's hat. Like, why you do this? You not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man. Nah.
So you can see in the gap here where it says sick of these man.
Sick of these man. Nah.
You can hear it go, these man, these man, these man. So, you know, it's all about filling the spaces in between vocals, but not being too overpowering. Delay is a great tool for adding more space to your mix, essentially. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to open up some saturation. Again, it's FabFilter and it's Saturn. Okay, so there's a ton of cool features in this. You've got how much you want to increase the effect of the plugin here. So you can take it all the way up to 100, all the way down to 0. I tend to have mine around the 33.33 if I can. But if you want to be really precise, double click it, type it in, sorted. Now this is how it sounds with it.
These man, they get wicked and bad. Try come with a flicky and a fisherman's hat. Like, why you do this? You're not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man. Nah.
You can add a ton of different ones here. So if you wanted like a lead amp, not that we would have it on this, but this is how it would sound.
You're not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man.
What we actually want to keep it on is warm tape for this specifics, for these specifics, 33.33, and then this is how it sounds with it on.
These man, they get wicked and bad. Try come with a flicky and a fisherman's hat. Like, why you do this? You're not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man.
With it.
Nah, you ain't in a no gang. Star dog smoker, your head's gone mad.
So some of you are probably thinking, I can't really hear much of a difference, and that's what we want, because remember what I was saying earlier, we want to make lots of small changes that will create one big overall picture. You know, by pushing this too much, you're going to change the whole sound of the mix, okay? So find what's best for you, and again, in another video, I'll go into way more detail as to why I have these settings as they are. Main thing I would say is make sure you've clicked HQ. You want it on high quality, okay? Finally, what I do is I add a glue compressor. So I have the native instrument here, solid bus. Click on solid bus, and I go to my factory preset, mix glue. So my makeup is at 2.3, attack is at 10, threshold's around 8, ratio's at 4, and releases on auto. So this is just gluing this vocal chain all together so it fits nicely. It's the final thing I have on my vocal chain. So this is how it sounds with it.
These man, they get wicked and bad. Try come with a flicky and a fisherman's hat. Like, why you do this? You're not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man. Nah, you ain't in a no gang. Star dog smoker, your head's gone mad. Got no money in the bank, fuck that. Guess every little helps like a Tesco's ad. Bank, fuck that. Guess every little helps like a Tesco's ad. So cold, but it's so fuego. Lay low, man, I really wanna make pesos. Just music, I don't wanna be on main roads. Got bars like okay if you say so. I'ma go grab this mag quick, lit like the flames coming straight from a matchstick.
So as you can see, we've got it so that it doesn't peak above 4 and it sits around the 2 mark. You want to be, you know, very subtle with this. Again, lots of subtle things create one big mix, which is what we want. We don't want to make anything too excessive. Yeah, this is how it sounds without anything on there.
Come with a flicky and a fisherman's hat. Like, why you do this? You're not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man.
And then this is it with the vocal chain.
These man, they get wicked and bad. Try come with a flicky and a fisherman's hat. Like, why you do this? You're not bigger than
So
that.
much
Stop
better, eh?
talking the shit, so sick of these man. Nah, you ain't in a no gang. Star dog smoker, your head's gone mad. Got no money. So cold, but it's so fuego. Lay.
Yeah, this is just the way I tend to mix rap vocals. Search through other YouTube videos, different people. You will find that you take different aspects from different teachers. Only other thing that I feel like I should mention is that when people do stabs, drag it underneath the mainline vocal here so that you can see it. And then you want to zoom in. And you want to try and get everything to be sort of in the same place roughly. You don't have to do it, you know, to the extreme, but because then it's not going to sound quite natural. One plugin that I would suggest if you really want to cut your time down in how you do this, get Vocaline 5, I think it's called. That I'll do a sort of tutorial on how to use that, but say you have 3 recordings, one for doubles, another one for doubles, and then your main line, put your main line in it, make it so that your doubles follow the same track length as your main line, and then what that will do is it will just put them all in order, so you can save yourselves hours of editing in trying to get them perfectly in line with each other. If you have them too out of sync, it's going to just make the whole mix sound a bit muddy. It's going to be like not very concise. So yeah, other than that, that's a very basic mix, and I'll go into more detail on why I use these plugins and how to use these plugins in other videos. But for now, this is how it sounds.
These man, they get wicked and bad. Try come with a flicky and a fisherman's hat. Like, why you do this, you're not bigger than that. Stop talking the shit, so sick of these man. Nah, you ain't in a